Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Rob Kaczmark from Spirit Juice Studios. Spirit Juice is a Catholic video production company. It's been around for over 13 years, and I'm excited to share some filmmaking techniques, creative techniques, faith, a whole bunch of stuff with you on this channel. So please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot, and I can't wait to talk about all the cool stuff that we do here and share some of that knowledge with you.
Hello there, Rob. It is nice to finally meet you. So I can ask this question especially. Who is Rob Kaczmark? Did I pronounce that right?
You did. Very good. Yeah, that's people always butcher it because at the C and the Z they tend to Kaczmark and they blend together. If you ask Siri to call me, it's Kaczmark. So beautiful job. Yeah, so I am. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I own Spirit Juice Studios and run the company, which has been around it's going on its 15th year, which is just crazy. And I'm Catholic. I'm passionate about my faith and sharing with others through video.
Okay, so you mentioned, well, your father. How many children?
I have 2 boys.
Oh, boys. Ah, nice. Yeah, handful, but a joy at the same time, right?
Yeah, they're 2 and 5. Or sorry, they're 3 and 5, and yeah, they are a joy. They're it's. I grew up with 2 sisters, so and I was the youngest, so just a kind of a different. I never had a brother, and so now that I have 2 boys, it's like I have almost like 2 younger brothers in a sense. Where like growing up with the house of boys, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot louder. My mom tells me that it is growing up with sisters, but it's very, very fun.
So very nice. You also mentioned Spirit Juice Studios. Can you tell us a little bit about Spirit Juice?
Yep. Yeah. So Spirit Juice Studios is a Catholic media production company, and so we do a variety of things here. But the primary way that we make a living and employ people is clients hire us to make videos for them. And those videos can be a short web video, it can be a music video, it could be a commercial, a documentary, any number of things. And we have the privilege to work with some really incredible clients. Most notably, Bishop Barron. We've been working with them for quite a while. The Knights of Columbus, University of Notre Dame, just a really array of just diverse and good Catholic organizations that are supporting church. And so that's kind of our main engine for stuff. But along with that, we put out a lot of our own original content. So these are things that we feel is really Catholic entertainment, and entertainment kind of spans the spectrum of stuff. We consider prayer, a form of that. And so, yeah, we do every day. We have, on all of our social media, new posts, new videos, lots of stuff like that. And so it's a passion of ours to not only do work for others, but contribute good Catholic work that we feel is missing in the world out there.
So for anybody who has seen our show Lit, a lot of the content, like the music videos, are from Spirit Juice Studios. They have been very generous with us. The quality is so high. And that is usually not associated with Catholic media. Have you ever gotten comments about how can you go into this and how do you make the money and you actually have a career and a business? What do you say to anybody that, questions you like that?
It's a great question. It really, I'll take it back a step. So Catholics are very generous when it comes to spreading the gospel. And I say they're generous in a very polite way because, they'll often say it's all about the message. And that's true. I won't deny that. But the vehicle that it gets presented in is, I would say, equally as important to the message because if it's not presented in a beautiful way, the message is just gonna fall on deaf ears. And so I say that in context because for a long time, it's all about the message, and there was no really, I feel like, a lot of importance put on creating high quality Catholic media, and so I feel you get a lot of subpar stuff. And if you go back, hundreds of years, Catholics were leading the way in art. Like we were the best art in the world was Catholic art, and so once we hit the technology age of stuff, we kind of got away from that, and it became a lot harder because it financially costs more money. Before, to create good art, you just had to have someone that's very talented and give them a paintbrush or give them a chisel, just simple tools that anyone could find. And as it became something where these tools became quite expensive, complex to use, I feel like the church kind of lost its way. And the importance, I feel like we just relied on it's all about the message. And so, I would say really for us, the past 15 years, a little bit earlier than that, but I would say the last 5-10 years where technology, the quality has just increased exponentially and the cost has come down quite a bit. It's made it easier. And I'd say people that are like, can you make a living in Catholic media? You can. It's been very difficult. You're not going to become rich in Catholic media. And, for us, a lot of it's educating the people we work with on the importance of investing money into doing, it's like, well, why would I spend this much money in a video? It's like, well, it depends. You might not need to spend that much. But if you want to compete and look like the stuff that people are watching on TV or streaming, you need to spend some money because it costs that, to do that. A perfect example is a film we did about 2 years ago. It's called The Veil Removed. 8-minute film. It was quite expensive. You can buy an exotic car for that. You can buy, without giving numbers, you can buy a very nice house for the cost it was to make this film. And it cost that because we had to bring in Hollywood effects. We had to bring in big cast, big crews, big lights, fancy cameras. And in the end, it looked like something you'd watch on television. So it's an expensive, like they say, filmmaking is one of the most expensive art forms. It's very true. And so, it's something that I've really kind of dedicated my life this far to sort of keep pushing that forward, keep pushing Catholic media forward to the quality that I feel like it deserves.
So, was it a calling? What came to you to actually venture into this? As you said, it's very difficult. So how did it all start that you decided to take that step and actually go into Christian Catholic media production?
Well, first off, you got to give credit where credit's due, and it's the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit kind of put the fire in my heart to do something for God. I would say at an early age, but I feel like it was probably when I was just about to be a freshman in high school. It's where I really, I was on a pilgrimage and just felt God's presence, specifically the Holy Spirit. And so it was small ways, right? So it was getting involved in my youth group and noticing like, hey, these flyers kind of look boring. Why doesn't someone make this better? It's like, I hear God saying, why don't you make them better? Why don't you make better flyers? Don't say like, why doesn't someone else do this? Why don't you do it? And so it became, okay, I did that. Well, someone make a better curriculum. Okay, why don't you do that? What about a little video for the church? Okay, you do that. And so it kept being like, you do that. So finally, it led me to leading retreats, creating videos for these retreats, different stuff. And I was just knee deep in ministry as I was going to school, going to high school and college. After college, I got approached to host a Catholic radio show, which was a huge opportunity in Chicago. The radio show, so most people don't know the beginnings of Spirit Juice, but Spirit Juice was at the very beginning in 2004, a Catholic radio show. So I was the host of it. It was once a week. We played Catholic music. So I have just a strong Catholic musicians. I have a strong, they're very close to my heart because I know how hard they work to get where they are. And so, for the radio show, we started, make additional content, promote it, get stuff out there. So I got more in depth of how to do this technical stuff, engineering, with the audio, with the video. And then eventually the radio show, it kind of went away and it left me feeling like, okay, what's next? And so I just kept going forward. I just kept creating stuff until finally someone saw something and said, hey, would you create it for our organization? And at that point, it was a turning point kind of in my life because I was about 22 years old. Had done the radio thing for a little bit. In the meantime, I was working a corporate job just, to pay the bills because there was no money in Catholic radio. It's all volunteer. And they wanted to hire me to work for them and to create videos and just kind of content similar to what we're doing here. And I thought to myself, okay, I've been involved in the church for long enough. I know they're not the only organization that needs this. I would say almost every other Catholic organization that needs this. And so I went to school for business, no professional training in film, graphic design, anything like that. But I dabbled, and, you just kind of like, lots of creatives think they can do everything and also, are scared to do anything. And so I felt God put on my heart, I think you should say no to them to working for them, but offer to start a company that will serve not only them, but the entire church. And so I took a leap of faith. I quit my nice full-time job. I actually worked at now it's the Willis Tower, it's the Sears Tower. So like, you tell friends and family where you work, oh, the Sears Tower, you're in Chicago. It's like the tallest building, so it's got a certain amount of thing. And they're like, oh, I'm quitting there, and I'm going to go start a job in Catholic media. It's like, what? My dad was like, what are you doing? I mean, he's very supportive, but he was like, that takes a lot of guts. And so I trusted. I felt God put that on my heart. I felt that was needed. It was educated. It wasn't just like, no, let's go make Catholic media. It was like, no, this needs to happen. And I'm a big believer in God calls. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Because I was not qualified to be very vulnerable and very real. When we took our first job, I had a camera from just like a consumer camera. I could only open like iMovie on my computer. I didn't know how to use Final Cut. There was like a million things I didn't know. And I was like, it's all right. God's gonna help me. And he put the right people in my life to learn that stuff. So yeah, that's how it all started.
So you were single at the point in time. You didn't have to worry about supporting a family, but I'm assuming your family, like your father, your parents, they were supportive, and now your wife is very supportive as well.
Yeah, I mean that was a big thing. I was single, and so I thought to myself, well, if this now is the time to do it, because if this doesn't succeed, I'm not letting I'm not feeding my family and stuff. And so it's a sacrifice of a lot of I ask any business owner when they start this, there's very little free time. You're working 7 days a week, and so by that, I got married 7 years ago, and so my wife, has been so supportive and continues to be so supportive of it. And kind of thankfully, at that point in time, the business, it still requires 6 days a week, but it didn't require that like just grind of 7 days a week, 20-hour days where you just like go, go, go. So I could get by with a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day now. So.
Excellent. It definitely worked out. I can see God's blessing. I believe it was a calling. And thank goodness that you answered that calling when you did. Otherwise, we would not have all the content. So I teach at an all-boys school, a secondary school. And recently, we started a CIC film club. We had made attempts before, but it was with the photography club. I tried to do it, and it didn't really work. So one of our RK teachers, actually, it's a Catholic boys' school, he started the club, and we have meetings virtually. Is there any advice you can give to these young men? They range from 15 to about 18 years old in terms of getting into film. Is there any advice that you will give the younger people?
Definitely. Listen, if you guys, anyone here, one of my main mottos is learn by doing. So start making stuff, even if you think it's bad. Like, just start making stuff, because you're going to learn so much by doing. Also, you could learn any technique, and it's easy to say like, oh, just go on YouTube. You can learn anything you want about filmmaking. There's so much information. There's a lot of stuff. And so it's not going to be like you go to YouTube and you leave and now you're like a brilliant filmmaker. It's going to take time, but I say learn by doing first. So try to shoot something, try to film something, try to take photography, like whatever it is, do it bad, look at it, and then go, oh, why is this bad? I don't know. Let me figure it out. And then start looking up stuff, because I wouldn't say start with the training, although I'm sure maybe others would disagree. I would say start by doing, figure out what went wrong, and then learn how to make it better by watching other people. And there's enough resources to do that. I mean, really, if you want to do it, you can. It's a matter though of like how much you want, because a lot of people like I want to play the guitar. I love to play the guitar, but I don't really want to learn that, because if I did, I'd be practicing every day. And if I was practicing every day, I would probably be pretty darn good at the guitar, but I don't practice every day. I may pick up a guitar 3 times a year and like fiddle away, and I'm like no good. So first ask yourself, do you actually want to do it and like really want to do it? Because if you do, you got to put the time in.
Yes, I've wanted to play the guitar for the longest while, but it ain't happening. You know, my husband does, and he will, and even he hasn't got any time. So basically, you want it, you have to work for it, practice it, and make your mistakes and learn your lessons. That's it basically. Even if it's with your phone, because they don't have the equipment and all that still. So did you mention it was Zombies versus Jesus? Was that the film that you talked about, or this is another one? Because what I'm seeing here is that you did 2 short films. No, you didn't do 2. You did many short films. For example, To Be Born and Zombies versus Jesus. And a recent project, The Quiet Love. I kind of want to hear about that. Is This Quiet Love. Can you give us a little idea in terms of what it takes from the concept to the actual finished product? I know it's a lot, but how do you come up with these ideas, and what is the planning process in terms of that? Is it, how do you get it cast, for example? I know that's a very broad question.
No, it's a good, there's a lot of room to talk with for that. So, To Be Born and Zombies vs. Jesus were films I had a blast working on. At this point, they're a little bit older now. I feel like they're almost, was before I met my wife, I worked on those. So I guess it's got to be over 7 years. Still films I really enjoy, and my sons like to watch Zombies vs. Jesus now. They get a kick out of that. Those in particular were actually client projects, but they were a bit of a hybrid. So I say that in the sense that people came to us and said, hey, we have an idea for a short film. We'd like you to make it. But it lacked a little bit of, it needed a little bit more development to like what it needed to be. And then also financially, it wasn't fully what it would take to make it happen. So in both those instances, we put a lot of our own resources in to bring stuff come together. Both of those films, because they were older, and again, remember, like day one of Spirit Juice, I knew nothing. Like I'm at like a 0. Like I'm a freshman going into college, except I'm starting a business saying that I can do this. And so there's been a huge learning curve over the past, 14 going on 15 years. And so at that point in time, I knew somewhat of what I was supposed to do. So a lot of how we made those films was guesswork, to be perfectly honest. And so I look back, and so now, like you mentioned, This Quiet Love. Actually, that is a film that I had very little to do with, because we have a team here, and it was presented by someone from our team. They kind of flushed it out. It was kind of a little bit more how a film would get done. Although it was a very, small film. We shot it in a day. And so they came up with the script, the idea for it, and then, roughly planned it out, how we're going to shoot it, how the post-production was going to go. And it was just executed. And because the scale was small, because it was shot in one day, where the other films were like spanned over multiple days and multiple actors and locations, it was able to kind of be very contained like that. But, if you have an idea for a film, there's many different ways you can go, right? If you want to take, look at a Hollywood film and all the process that would go into that, and you just something that like, you can shoot in a day with your friends. There's no, as long as it gets done, there's no wrong way. But there's certainly the proper way if you want to sort of follow like the standards of stuff. But I would say, if you're just starting out, don't worry about that, because it can get too much. I think that's where filmmaking becomes like a little overwhelming to a lot of people, because it's like, oh my gosh, I got storyboard stuff. I don't know how to draw. Who do I get to film this? What about this or that? Honestly, it doesn't matter. I mean, you could just go on social media and look at how many just great things people make on whatever social media platform you're on that are just like short, good narrative stuff. It really comes down to story. If you have a passion to tell a certain story, just tell it in whatever way you can. And if you want to learn, like, okay, what's the Hollywood way, or like, the proper way, there's books on that. There's courses, there's lots of stuff. There's too many steps to really name now. But just for even something small, think of pre-production, production, and post. So pre-production, don't show up ready to film without any plan. Have a plan, all right? Like any good, thing you're going to do, have a plan before you get there. And once you're there, have an agenda, know what you're going to do, get that done. and then figure out how you're going to cut it together. Because I will say this, the excitement lies in the early times when you're on set, but it's like it goes down very dramatically. Like right after you get done filming, you're like, oh, I'm going to edit this, and then like a day passes and you lose all the energy, right? Like it just kind of like, for whatever reason, as almost any filmmaker. And so the important thing is seeing it to the end, because you're wasting your time if you don't see it to the end. Put it out there, ship it, make sure, like, even if you think it's bad at the end of the day, you're like, oh my gosh, I spent all this time, it's not even good. It's okay, ship it, put it out there. You'll learn from it, because you'll learn more from it when it's out there and people can see it than it's just sitting on your hard drive or sitting on your phone.
So which is your favorite part? Pre-production, editing, post? What do you have a favorite? Being behind the cameras.
I have two favorites. One favorite is in production, like when there's the first shot, or it's very early on when you're filming, and all the work of like you're organized, all the pre-production, if you've kind of done your homework and make it where it comes to be, and you just see that first frame in the camera, you're like, oh my gosh, this is it. It's actually happening. So just that early first glimpse, and then kind of on the same token in post-production, that first draft, right? When it's like the pieces that you're actually watching it and like you're seeing it assembly. They typically call it an assembly cut or a rough draft. Just that early on, I actually love, that's one of my first drafts, or that's one of my favorite drafts to see, because it gives you like, okay, this is what it's going to look like. And then, you refine and polish it from there. But I love those first glimpses on both sides.
Well, my favorite is editing. My husband can take all the videography, the shots and stuff. I just love putting it together. That's my thing. And then, as you said, you see the finished product. That is my part of it. I just love to see when it is complete. And as you said, sometimes you might look and say, I wish I did that differently, or I did it better, but we just move on, right?
Well, I want to share this with you, because it was when Spirit Juice was a radio show, and it was like the first kind of like big video we did to kind of promote it. And I spent a lot of time, I spent, weeks filming it and all this stuff. And it just wasn't coming together. Like, it was, but there's just things that like, it was coming together, but there's certain things that I just didn't like about it. And like, there's some technical stuff. And I remember going to my mom and like, Mom, I don't know. I think I'm just going to scrap it, because like, it's just not what I want it to be. And I'd rather not put it out there. And she's like, Rob, nothing is perfect. And this isn't going to be the first thing it is. Put it out there. I was like, all right. And so it's not to say don't strive for, making things good and as best you can, but it means, especially for people like me that are perfectionists, it means it's not going to be perfect. So get it out there and don't worry. Okay. And I think that's just something, maybe not everyone needs to hear that, but there's a few people that might need to hear that. So.
Can touch anybody. You can touch somebody, right? Yeah. So just put it out there. Okay. So, final question. What tip would you give to anyone who wants to do a cut, like film production? I think you gave a lot of advice. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that?
I would say, see if that's where God's calling you. Because if God's calling you there, keep going. You gotta show up and stay. It's kind of one of my just personal models with stuff. A lot of us like to do a lot of things, but it depends what we're being called to and what's really put on our heart. Because if that's the case, and I say show up and stay, so I take that from a talk that a Catholic speaker gave, and they mentioned about at the last moment of Jesus' life, probably the most pivotal moment, and we'd consider in history, who was there? There was two people there. There was Mary and John the Beloved. Mary was there because that's how moms are. They're always going to be with us, right? But John the Beloved was there for two reasons. He showed up. So other people showed up that day when other people didn't, but then he stayed throughout the day. At the very end, he stayed there. And that's what God calls us. He calls us to show up and to stay. And so that's the only way God's going to use you, is if you show up and stay to the things he has for you in your life.
Fantastic. And I'm actually seeing here, take a leap of faith. Thank you so much. It was really enjoyable talking to you. I hope we can do this again sometime.
Love to.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.